In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez, Chapter 11, Maria Teresa, March to August, 1960. Wednesday, March 16, 55 days. I just got the notebook. Santiclo has had to be very careful this time around, smuggling in just a couple of things every few days. Security measures are stepped up after the second pastoral, he says. You're safer in here than out there, bombs and whatnot. He tries to say helpful things. But can he really believe we're safer in here? Maybe he is, being a guard and all, but we politicals can be snuffed out just like that. A little visit to La Forti, that's all it takes. Look at Florentino and Papien. I better stop. I know how I get. Thursday, March 17, 56 days. The fear is the worst part. Every time I hear footsteps coming down the hall, or the clink of the key turning in the lock, I'm tempted to curl up in the corner like a hurt animal, whimpering, wanting to be safe, but I know if I do that, I'll be giving in to a low part of myself, and I'll feel even less human. But that is what they want to do. Yes, that is what they want to do. Friday, March 18, 57 days. It feels good to write things down, like there will be a record. Before this, I scraped on the wall with our contraband nail, a mark for each day, a line through each week. It was the only record I could keep, besides the one in my head, where I would remember things, store them. The day we were brought here, for instance, they marched us down the corridor past some of the men's cells. We looked a sight, dirty, uncombed, bruised from sleeping on the hard floor. The men started calling out their code names so we'd know who was still alive. We kept our eyes averted, for they were all naked. I listened hard, but I didn't hear. Palomino vive! I'm trying not to worry about it, as we didn't hear a lot of the names because the guards commenced beating on the bars with their nightsticks, drowning out the men's cries. Then Minerva began singing the national anthem, and everyone joined in, men and women. That time Minerva got solitary for a week. The rest of us, women politicals, were locked up in a cell no bigger than Mama's living and dining room combined. But the real shock was the 16 other cellmates we found here. Non-politicals, all right. Prostitutes, thieves, murderers. That's just the ones who confided in us. Saturday, March 19th, 58 days. 3 bolted steel walls, steel bars, and a 4th wall, a steel ceiling, a cement floor, 24 metal shelves, bunks, a set of 12 on each side, a bucket, a tiny wash basin under a small high window. Welcome home. We're on the 3rd floor, we believe, at the end of a long corridor. Cell number 61, facing south towards the road. El Rayo and some of the boys are in cell 60, next to the Guardia station, and number 62 on our other side is for non-politicals. Those guys love to talk dirty through the walls. The other girls don't mind, they say, so most of them have taken bunks on that side. 24 of us eat, sleep, write, go to school, and use the bucket, everything, in a room of 25 by 20 of my size 6 feet. I've walked it back and forth many times, believe me. The rod in the middle helps on account of we hang our belongings and dry towels there, and it kind of divides the room in two. Still, you lose your shame quickly in this horrid place. All us politicals have our bunks on the east side, so we've asked for the southeast corner to be ours. Minerva says that except for closed meetings, anyone can join our classes and discussions, and many have. Magdalena, Kiki, America, Milady have become regulars. Dinora sometimes comes, but it's usually to criticize. Oh yes, I forgot. Our 4-footed Miguelito. He shows up for any occasion that involves crumbs. There is a diagram of their cell in the hallway outside it. Sunday, March 20th, 59 days. Today I took my turn at our little window, and everything I saw was blurry through my tears. I had such a yearning to be out there. Cars were speeding east to the capital, north towards home. There was a donkey loaded down with saddlebags full of plantains, and a boy with a switch making him move along. Lots and lots of police wagons. Every little thing I was eating up with my eyes, so I lost track of time. Suddenly, there was a yank at my prison gown. It was Dinora, who kept grumbling about us rich women who think we are better than the riffraff. That's enough, she snapped. We all want to have our turn. The touchingest thing happened. Magdalena must have seen I'd been crying because she said, "Let her have my turn." "And mine," milady said. Kiki offered her 10 minutes too, and soon I had a whole other half hour to stand on the bucket if I wanted to. Of course, I immediately stepped down because I didn't want to deny anyone their 10 minutes of feasting on the world, but it raised my spirits so much, the generosity of these girls I once thought were below me. Monday, March 21, 60 days. I keep mentioning the girls. I have to admit, the more time I spend with them, the less I care what they've done or where they come from. What matters is the quality of a person, what someone is inside themselves. My favorite is Magdalena. I call her our little birdseed bell. Everybody comes pecking what they want off her, and she gladly gives it. Her ration of sugar, her time at the sink, her bobby pins. I don't know what she's in for, since there's sort of an unwritten courtesy here that you're not supposed to ask anyone, though a lot of the girls blurt out their stories. Magdalena doesn't say much about herself, but she has a little girl too, and so we are always talking about our daughters. We don't have any pictures, but we have thoroughly described our darlings to each other. Her Amantina sounds like a doll girl. She's 7 years old with hazel eyes like my Jackie, and light brown curls that used to be blonde. Strange, since Magdalena herself is pretty dark, with quite a kink in her hair. There's a story there, but I didn't dare come right out and ask who the father was. Tuesday, March 22, 61 days. I broke down last night. I feel so ashamed. It happened right before lights out. I was lying on my bunk when the call went around. "Viva Trujillo!" Maybe it was that call, or maybe it was all finally getting to me, but suddenly the walls were closing in, and I got this panic feeling that I would never, ever get out of here. I started to shake and moan and call out to Mama to take me home. Thank God Minerva saw in time what was going on. She crawled in my bunk and held me, talking soft and remindful to me of all the things I had to live and be patient for. I settled down, thank God. It happens here all the time. Every day and night there's at least one breakdown. Someone loses control and starts to scream or sob or moan. Minerva says it's better letting yourself go. Not that she ever does. The alternative is freezing yourself up, never showing what you're feeling, never letting on what you're thinking. Like Dinora. Jail face, the girls call her. Then one day, you're out of here free, only to discover you've locked yourself up and thrown away the key somewhere too deep inside your heart to fish it out. Wednesday, March 23, 62 days. I'm learning a whole new language here, just like being in our movement. We've got code names for all the guards, usually some feature of their body or personality that lets you know instantly what to expect from them. Bloody Juan, Little Razor, Good Hair. I never could figure out Tiny, though. The man is as big as a piece of furniture you have to move in a truck. Tiny what? I asked Magdalena. She explained that Tiny is one of the fresh fingers, but according to those who have reason to know, he has very little to brag about. Every day we get the shopping list from the knockings on the wall. Today bananas are 5 cents each, tiny brown ones. A piece of ice, 15 cents. 1 cigarette, 3 cents. And a bottle of milk that is really half water, 15 cents. Everything is for sale here, everything but your freedom. The code name for these privileges is Turtle. And when you want to purchase a privilege, you tell the guardia in charge that you'd like to throw some water on the turtle. Today I threw a whole bucket on the creature and bought rounds of cassava for everyone in our cell with the money Santiclo brought us from Mama. 10 cents a stale round, and I couldn't even keep mine down. Thursday, March 24, 63 days. Periodically, we were taken downstairs to an officer's lounge and questioned. I've only been twice. Both times I was scared so witless that the guards had to carry me along by the arms. Then, of course, I'd get one of my asthma attacks and could barely breathe to talk. Both times I was asked gruff questions about the movement and who my contacts were and where we gotten our supplies. I always said, I have already said all I know, and then they threatened me with things that they would do to me, to Leandro, to my family. The second time they didn't even threaten that much except to say that it was too bad a pretty lady would have to grow old in prison. Miss out on a bunch of lewd comments I won't bother to repeat here. The ones they take out a lot are Sina and Minerva. It isn't hard to figure out why. Those two always stand up to these guys. Once, Minerva came back from one of the interrogation sessions laughing. Trujillo's son, Ramfis, had come special to question her because Trujillo had said that Minerva Mirabal was the brain behind the whole movement. I'm very flattered, Minerva said she had said, but my brain isn't big enough to run such a huge operation. That worried them. Yesterday, something that could have been awful happened to Sina. They took her into a room with some naked men prisoners. The guards stripped off her clothes in front of the prisoners. Then they taunted Manolo, setting him up on a bucket and saying, "Come now, leader, deliver one of your revolutionary messages." What did he do? Minerva wanted to know, her voice all proud and indignant. He stood up as straight as he could and said, "Comrades, we have suffered a setback, but we have not been beaten. Liberty or death." That was the only time I saw Minerva cry in prison, when Sina told that story. Friday, March 25th, 64 days. Bloody Juan beats on the bars with an iron bar at 5. "Viva Trujillo!" And we are rudely woken up. No chance of mistaking, even for a minute, where I am. I hide my face in my hands and cry. This is how every day starts out. Lord forbid Minerva should see me. She'd give me one of her talks about morale. It's my turn to empty the bucket, but Magdalena offers to do it. Everybody's been so kind about relieving me because of the way my stomach's been. Right before the chow comes, Minerva leads us in singing the national anthem. We know through knocking with our neighbor cell that our serenades really help raise the men's spirit. The guards don't even try to stop us anymore. What harm are we doing? Minerva asks. In fact, we're being patriotic, saying good morning to our country. Today we sing Adios con el corazón. Since this is Miriam's and Dulce's last day, most of us are crying. I end up vomiting my breakfast chow. Anything can set me off these days. Not that my stomach needs an excuse for ejecting that watery paste. What are those little gelatin things I sometimes bite down on? Saturday, March 26th, 65 days. We just had our little school, which Minerva insists on every day except Sundays. I guess Fidel did this when he was in prison in the Isle of Pines, and so we have to do it too. Minerva started us off by reciting some Marty, and then we all talked about what we thought about what the words meant. I was daydreaming about Jackie, wondering if she was walking yet, if she was getting the rash between her little fingers, when Minerva asked what I thought. I said I had to agree with what everyone was saying. She just shook her head. Then we politicals gathered in our corner and rehearsed the 3 cardinal rules. Never believe them, never fear them, never ask them anything. Even Santiclo, I asked? He is so good to me, to all of us really. Especially Santiclo, Sina said. I don't know who is tougher, Minerva or her. Both of them have warned me about getting too fond of the enemy. Yesterday night, Santiclo brought us the last of the contents of Mama's package, including some Vigorex. Maybe now this stomach of mine will settle down. The smelling salts will also help. Mama and Patria outdid themselves. We have everything we need and then some luxuries. That is, if Minerva doesn't give it all away. She says we don't want to create a class system in our cell. The haves and have-nots. We don't? What about when Tiny gave Dinora a dulce de leche as payment for her favors, and she didn't offer anyone a crumb, even Miguelito? Minerva asked me her speech about how Dinora's a victim of our corrupt system, which we are helping to bring down by giving her some of our milk fudge. So everyone's had a Bengay rub and a chunk of fudge in the name of the revolution. At least I get this notebook to myself. Or so I think, till Minerva comes around, asking if I couldn't spare a couple of pages for America's statement for her hearing tomorrow. And can we borrow the pen? Minerva adds. Don't I have any rights? But instead of fighting for them, I just burst out crying. Pages torn out. Monday, March 28th, 67 days. I left my chow untouched. Just a whiff of that steamy paste, and I didn't even want to take a chance. I'm lying on my bunk now, listening to the little school discussing how a woman revolutionary should handle a low remark by a comrade. Minerva excused me from class. I feel like my insides were trying to get out. I've gotten so thin I've had to take in the waistbands of all my panties and stuff the cups of my brassiere with handkerchiefs. We were fooling the other day about whose were bigger. Kiki made a low remark about how men are probably doing the same thing with their you-know-whats. First month I was here, I was shocked by such dirty talk. Now I laugh right along with everybody. Tuesday late night, March 29th, 68 days. I can't even fall asleep tonight remembering Violetta's prayer at the close of our group rosary. May I never experience all that is possible to get used to. How it has spooked me to hear that. Wednesday, March 30, 69 days. I'm trying to keep a schedule to ward off the panic that sometimes comes over me. Sina brought it up during little school. She had read a book written by a political prisoner in Russia who was locked away for life, and the only way he kept himself from going insane was to follow a schedule of exercises in his head. You have to train your mind and spirit, like putting the baby on a feeding schedule. I think it's a good idea. Here's my schedule. The little school every morning except Sundays. Writing in my book during guard change so I can get away with 20 minutes at a time. Also after lights out, if there is a bright enough moon. Going to the movies in my head, imagining what is happening at home right this moment. Doing some handiwork. The guards are always bringing us their prison mending. Helping clean up the cell. We've got a rotating list of duties Sina wrote up. I also try to do one good thing for a cellmate every day, from giving Delia massages for her bad back to teaching Balbina, who's deaf, and some of the others too, how to write their names. And finally, the thing that gets me the most kidding, I try to walk for half an hour every day, 25 feet down and back, 20 feet across and back. Where are you going? America asked me yesterday. Home, I replied without stopping my walk. Thursday, March 31, 70 days. Day by day goes by and I begin to lose courage and wallow in dark thoughts. I'm letting myself go. Today I didn't even braid my hair, just wound it in a knot and tied a sock around it. My spirits are so low. Our visiting privileges were canceled again. No explanation. Not even Santiclo knows why. We were marched down the hall and then brought back. What a mean trick. And it's certain now, Leandro is not here with the rest of us. Oh God, how could he be? Where could he be? Friday, April 1, 71 days. Minerva and I just had a talk about morale. She says she's noticed how upset I've been lately. I am upset. We could have been out with Miriam and Dulce a whole week ago, but no, we mirrorballs had to set a good example. Accepting a pardon meant we thought we had something to be pardoned for. Also, we couldn't be free unless everyone else was offered the same opportunity. I argued all up and down, and it was like the time Minerva wanted to do the hunger strike. I said, Minerva, we're already half-starved. What more do you want? She held my hands and said, then do what you think is right, Mate. Of course, I ended up on a hunger strike, too. Santiclo snuck me in some chocolates, thank God, and rounds of cassava, or I would have starved. This time, too, I'd have taken that pardon. But what was I supposed to do? Leave Minerva behind to be a martyr all by herself? I start to cry. I can't take it anymore. I tell Minerva every day, my little girl is growing up without me. Stop thinking like that, Minerva says. And then she tries all over again to lead me through this exercise where I concentrate on nice thoughts so as not to get desperate. I have to stop and hide this. They're coming in for some sort of check. Saturday, April 2, 72 days. There was a row here yesterday. As a consequence, there have been extra guards patrolling the hall outside our cell, so I didn't dare write until tonight. Minerva is back in solitary this time for 3 weeks. When they came in to remove our crucifixes, we sort of expected it because that's what's been going on. The officials call it the crucifix plot. Minerva and El Rayo cooked up this idea that everyone without exception was to wear a crucifix as a symbol of our solidarity. Patria sent us a dozen little wooden ones, and Tio Pepe had made for those who didn't already have one. Soon, even the meanest prostitutes were dangling crosses above their bosoms. The naked men all wore them too. Whenever someone was taken for a visit to La 40 or got desperate and began shouting or crying, we'd all start singing, "O Lord, my sturdy palm, when cyclone winds are blowing." We kept this up for a week. Then the chief warden, Little Razor, went from cell to cell, announcing the new regulations. No more hymn singing, no more crucifixes. Especially after this second pastoral Santiclo told us about, Trujillo was sure the priests were out to get him. Our crucifix wearing and praying was a plot. A sorry-looking Santiclo and not-so-sorry-looking Tiny and Bloody Juan came in with 4 other guards to confiscate our crucifixes. When I handed Santiclo my little gold one from my first communion I'd always worn, he gave me a quick wink and slipped it in his pocket. He was going to save mine for me. Gold crucifixes were bound to get, quote, lost, unquote, in Little Razor's safekeeping. Everyone's complied except for Minerva and Sina. They managed to get Sina's off her because all she did was stand real straight with her chin up. But when they grabbed Minerva, she started kicking and swinging her arms. Santiclo's cap flew across the room and Tiny was smacked in the face. Bloody Juan got a bloody nose when he tried to intervene. "Where does that sister of mine get her crazy courage?" As she was being marched down the hall, a voice from one of the cells they passed called out, "Mariposa does not belong to herself alone. She belongs to Quisqueya." Then everyone was beating on the bars, calling out, "Viva la Mariposa!" Tears came to my eyes. Something big and powerful spread its wings inside me. Courage, I told myself, and this time I felt it. Pages torn out. Thursday, April 7th, 77 days. Today, at long last, I got to see Mama, Patria, and Pedrito at a distance. Amito and Dede didn't come up because they were only allowed one visitor. But Santiclo let Patria sit at my table after prisoner number 49 was taken back. That's what Pedrito's called, and something I didn't know until today. I'm number 307. Mama was so upset about Minerva being in solitary, I decided not to bring up the way I've been feeling and worry her even more. Besides, I didn't want to take up time I could be hearing about my precious. She's got 2 new teeth and has learned to say, "Free Mama," "Free Papa," every time she passes Trujillo's picture in the entryway. Then Patria gave me the best news so far. Nelson is free. He was offered and accepted a pardon. Aye, how it made me wish all over again we hadn't turned ours down. As for Leandro, he and some of the others are still being held in La 40. I'm so relieved just to know he's alive. Patria heard from Peña up in Salcido about Leandro being pressured to do some job for Trujillo. They sure picked the wrong guy. My gentle Palomino has the iron will of a stallion. Mama said she's going to bring Jacqueline next week. Not inside for a visit, of course. It's not allowed. But Jaimito can park on the road, and I can peek out my window. How can Mama tell our window looks out on the road? I asked her. Mama laughed. There's a certain black flag flown from a certain window. How ingenious of Mama. I always wondered why she sent me a good towel. Friday, April 8th, 78 days. Magdalena and I had a long talk about the real connection between people. Is it our religion, the color of our skin, the money in our pockets? We were discussing away, and all of a sudden the girls started congregating one by one, including the 2 new ones who have replaced Miriam and Dulce, everybody contributing their ideas. And it wasn't just the usual Sina and Acela and Violeta and Delia, the educated women talking. Even Balbina knew something was up and came and sat right in front of me so she could watch my mouth. I spoke real slow for her to understand that we were talking about love among us women. There is something deeper. Sometimes I really feel it in here, especially late at night, a current going among us like an invisible needle, stitching us together into the glorious free nation we are becoming. Saturday, April 9, 79 days. I'm very low. The rain doesn't help. The days drag on. This morning I woke up with the thought, Jackie has to get some new shoes, and that's been going around and around in my head all day. The old ones are probably pinching her toes, and she'll learn to walk pigeon-toed, and then we'll have to get some corrective braces, and on and on and on. You get a thought in your head in this crazy place, and it looms so big, but let it be her shoes I worry about instead of the other thing tugging at my mind now all the time. Sunday, April 10, 80 days. I've got a big worry, and Minerva isn't here for me to talk to. I go back and calculate. Leandro and I were trying like crazy in December and January. I wanted another one soon, since I've enjoyed having my Jackie so much. Also, I admit I wanted an excuse to stay home, like today. I just didn't have the nerves for revolution, but unlike her, I didn't have the excuse of a bossy husband. Not that my Leandro would have preferred for me to be just his wife and his little girl's mother. More than once, he said one revolutionary in the family was enough. I missed January, then February, and now most definitely March. I know almost everyone here has stopped menstruating. Delia says stress can do this to a woman. She's seen it before in her practice. Still, this queasiness is all too familiar. If I am, and the Sim find out, they'll make me carry it to full term and then give it to some childless general's wife, like the story Magdalena told me. That would kill me. So if there's really no chance I'll be out soon, then I want to release this poor creature from the life it might be born to. The girls all know home remedies, since most of them have had to get rid of unwanted side effects of their profession, and Delia is a woman doctor, so she can help too. I'm giving it till Minerva gets back to decide. Not sure what day it is. Still very weak, but the bleeding has stopped. I can't bear to tell the story yet. Just this. I've either bled, a baby, or had a period, and no one had to do a thing about it after the Sim got to me. Another day. Magdalena has been nursing me. She feeds me broth with crunched up saltine Centiclo brings me. She says he smuggled in a little gift every day. Today, it was this blue ribbon she used to tie my braid and a little packet of honey balls. Balbina has also been so sweet. She rubs my feet the way she kneads the soles and pats the heels. It's like she's talking to me by her touching, saying, "Get well, get well, get well." And I wiggle my toes back and smile wanly at her. I will, I hope I will. Friday, I think. You think you're going to crack any day, but the strange thing is that every day you surprise yourself by pulling it off, and suddenly you start feeling stronger, like maybe you are going to make it through this hell with some dignity, some courage, and most important, never forget this, Mate, some love still in your heart for the men who have done this to you. Saturday, April 16. I've got to get a note written to Mama. She must have been worried sick when I didn't show up Thursday. What a pity. I miss seeing my little girl, but that loss seems small now compared to what has happened. Pages torn out. Easter Sunday. Minerva came back this afternoon. They released her 5 days early on account of Easter. How Christian of them. We had a little welcome party for her, and some of the saltine Centiclo had brought me and a hunk of white cheese Delia managed to get by throwing lots of water on the turtle. Miguelito, of course, showed up for the crumbs. I try to be lighthearted, but it takes such effort. It's as if I am so deep inside myself I can't come to the surface to be with anyone. The easiest to be with is Magdalena. She holds my head in her lap and strokes my forehead just like Mama. It's only her I've told what happened. Wednesday, April 20, 90 days. Minerva keeps asking me. I tell her I can't talk about it yet. I know I've told Magdalena, but somehow telling Minerva is different. She'll make some protest out of it, and I don't want people to know. Minerva says write it down. That'll help, Mate. I'll try, I tell her. Give me a few more days. Tuesday, April 26th, 96 days. Minerva has excused me from the little school today, so I can write this. Here is my story of what happened in La Forti on Monday, April 11th.